The gunshot echoed through the abandoned warehouse like thunder. Blood spread across his white shirt as he fell to his knees, vision blurring. This was it, Antonio Russo, feared Mafia boss of New York, brought down by betrayal. Through the haze of pain, he heard footsteps. Fast. Determined. A figure in black tactical gear burst through the door, taking down his attackers with precision he'd only seen in professionals. When the smoke cleared, the masked rescuer knelt beside him, gloved hands checking his wounds. Then came the whisper that stopped his dying heart. "Dad, it's me." The voice was female. Young. Impossible. He had no daughter. Or did he? This is a story of secrets buried deep, revenge that backfires, and a love that was never supposed to exist. If you want to know how a one-night stand 17 years ago led to this moment, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every view matters, and this story will grip you until the very end. Elena Martinez wiped down the bar for the third time that hour, her hands moving on autopilot. The dive bar in Brooklyn wasn't much, but it was her second job, and every dollar counted. At home, her son, their son, was doing homework, unaware that his mother worked 70-hour weeks just to keep them fed. She never told him about his father. What was there to say? Your dad is Antonio Russo, the most dangerous man in New York, and he doesn't know you exist? 17 years ago, she'd been a different person. Young. Naive. Working as a coat check girl at an upscale Manhattan restaurant where men in expensive suits whispered about things that could get you killed. Antonio had been younger then, too. 25, devastatingly handsome, with eyes that saw through every defense she had. One night. That's all it took. One night of feeling seen, wanted, important. Then he disappeared into his world of power and violence, and she discovered she was pregnant 2 months later. She never tried to find him. Men like Antonio Russo didn't want complications. They wanted clean lives, beautiful wives from their world, heirs they could mold. Not bastard sons raised in cramped apartments where the heat didn't always work. The door chimed. Elena looked up and froze. Time had sharpened Antonio Russo like a blade. At 42, he wore power the way other men wore cologne, impossible to ignore. His tailored black suit probably cost more than her entire year's rent. 3 men flanked him, their eyes scanning the bar with professional paranoia. But it was Antonio who made her breath catch. Those same dark eyes that had undone her 17 years ago swept the room and landed on her. Recognition flickered, brief, uncertain, then hardened into something she couldn't read. "We're closed for a private event," one of his men announced to the handful of patrons. Money changed hands. Within minutes, the bar emptied. Except for her. Elena Martinez. Antonio's voice was exactly as she remembered. Smooth, controlled, dangerous. He settled onto a bar stool like he owned it. Like he owned everything. "It's been a long time." Her hands gripped the bar towel. "What do you want?" "Information." He slid a photograph across the scarred wood. "This man. Carlos Vega. He worked here 3 months ago." "Where is he?" Elena stared at the photo. Carlos had been a regular, always friendly, always left decent tips. "I don't know. He stopped coming in." "Wrong answer." Antonio leaned forward, and she caught the scent of expensive cologne and something darker, gunpowder, maybe. "Carlos stole from me. $2 million. I have it on good authority he bragged about it here, to you specifically." Her blood went cold. "I don't know anything about stolen money. I serve drinks." "That's it. See, that's interesting." His finger traced the edge of the photograph, never breaking eye contact. "Because Carlos's girlfriend?" "She said he was obsessed with a bartender named Elena. Said he'd do anything to impress you." "I didn't." "I don't care if you did or didn't. Antonio's voice dropped to that lethal quiet that made her spine tingle. "I care about my money. You're going to help me find Carlos, or—" He paused, something flickering in his expression. "You still live on Morris Avenue? Apartment 4B. The air left her lungs. He knew where she lived. Where Marco lived. "Don't." The word came out broken. "Please. I have a son. He's just a kid. He has nothing to do with this." Something shifted in Antonio's eyes. "A son. He's 17. Brilliant. Good kid. Stays out of trouble." Her voice cracked. "Please don't hurt him because of something I didn't do." The silence stretched like wire about to snap. "Tomorrow night. 9 p.m. Russo Estate in Manhattan." Antonio stood, buttoning his suit jacket with precise movements. "You come alone. You tell me everything Carlos ever said to you, and maybe we can resolve this without complications." "And if I don't come?" He leaned close, his breath warm against her ear. "Then I'll come to you. And trust me, Bella, you don't want me showing up at your home." They left the same way they arrived, swiftly, silently, leaving destruction in their wake. Elena's hands shook as she pulled out her phone. Marco answered on the second ring. "Mom? You okay?" "Baby, listen carefully. Tomorrow after school, I need you to go to Aunt Rosa's. Don't come home. Don't ask questions. Just, please." "Mom, you're scaring me." Good, she thought. Be scared. Be safe. I love you, Marco. More than anything in this world. She hung up before he could hear her crying. What she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Marco had been listening to her side of the conversation with growing understanding. He'd always known something was missing. Why his mother worked herself to death. Why she flinched when men in suits passed them on the street. And he'd spent 17 years learning everything he could to make sure he could protect her when the past finally caught up. The Russo estate rose like a fortress against the Manhattan skyline. Elena stood at the iron gates, her courage failing with each second. Behind those walls was a world she'd deliberately left behind, a world of violence, power, and men who treated women like possessions. The gates opened. She hadn't even pressed the intercom. A man in a dark suit gestured for her to follow. The walk to the main house felt eternal. Manicured gardens gave way to marble steps, then massive doors that whispered money with every inch. Inside, the opulence stole her breath. Crystal chandeliers. Art that probably cost more than her life. But it was the man standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows who commanded every ounce of her attention. Antonio turned, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "You came. Did I have a choice?" "There's always a choice, Elena." He gestured to a leather chair. "Sit. We have a lot to discuss." She remained standing. Small rebellion, but hers. His lips quirked, almost a smile. Still stubborn. Still alive. She met his eyes. "What do you want from me?" "The truth." He set down his glass and moved closer. Too close. Close enough that she could see the faint scar on his jaw, new since she'd known him. Carlos Vega. Every conversation. Every detail. He was a customer. He tipped well. He talked about his mother in Colombia. "That's it. You're lying." "I'm not." "He mentioned you by name in his journal." Antonio pulled out a small leather book. February 14th. Bought Elena flowers. She smiled. Worth it. March 3rd. Told Elena about the shipment. She didn't seem interested, but she listened. Elena's stomach dropped. "I never. He talked about work sometimes. I thought he meant a warehouse job. I didn't know he was talking about your business." "What exactly did he tell you?" She forced herself to remember. He said there was a shipment coming in, that his boss was old school and didn't use proper security, that it would be easy to skim off the top because nobody tracked things properly. Antonio's jaw tightened. When was this? 3 months ago. Early March. And you didn't think to report this? Report it to who? Her voice rose. The police? So they could laugh at me for thinking the Mafia cares about employee theft? I'm a bartender, Mr. Russo. I keep my head down and survive. That's it. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Antonio did something unexpected. He laughed. Not a cruel laugh, genuine, almost warm. You really have no idea, do you? No idea about what? That you're the reason I found him. Antonio moved to a desk, pulling out a file. Carlos got sloppy because he wanted to impress you. Left a trail a mile wide. Bank deposits. Purchases. All time-stamped to right after he talked to you. He was peacocking. That's not my fault. No. Antonio's expression shifted to something darker. But it is your problem. Because Carlos? He's in the wind. And the men I work with, the traditional men, they believe in leverage. They'll say I should hold you until Carlos surfaces. Terror clawed at her throat. Please. But I'm not going to do that. He was in front of her suddenly, his hand catching her chin, tilting her face up. The touch was gentle, shocking. Because 17 years ago, I met a girl who looked at me like I was a person, not a monster. And I never forgot her. Elena's breath caught. Antonio. The door burst open. A man in bloodied clothes stumbled in, flanked by guards. Boss, we have a situation. The Calabrese family, they hit the warehouse. 3 of our men are dead. Antonio's expression went arctic. Where? Red Hook. They're saying it's retaliation for the Vega situation. They think we're weak. I'll handle it. Antonio turned back to Elena, and for a moment she saw conflict flash across his face. You stay here. Lock yourself in the guest room upstairs. 3rd door on the left. Don't open it for anyone but me. I should go home. No. The word was absolute. They know I've been looking into Carlos. They might think you're leverage against me. Until I resolve this, you're safer here. Before she could protest, he was gone, taking his men and the scent of violence with him. Elena stood alone in the mansion, her heart racing. She should run. Call the police. Something. Instead, she found herself walking upstairs to the 3rd door on the left. The room was elegant. Cream walls, a massive bed, windows overlooking the gardens. She locked the door and called Marco. Mom? Where are you? I'm safe, baby. Are you at Aunt Rosa's? Yeah, but Mom, I need to tell you something. Gunshots cracked through the night. Close. Too close. Elena's phone slipped from her hand as the window exploded inward. Men in black masks poured through, grabbing her before she could scream. The boss sends his regards, one hissed. Then everything went dark. Antonio returned to chaos. Shattered glass. Blood on the marble floor. And Elena, gone. They took her 20 minutes ago. His head of security looked like he wanted to die. Calabrese family. Left this. A note, written in blood, eye for an eye. She dies at midnight. Something primal tore through Antonio. Not strategic thinking. Not careful planning. Pure, savage fury. Get everyone. Every soldier, every contact, every debt owed. I want Calabrese found in the next hour or I burn this city down. His men scattered like ants. Antonio stood in the destroyed room, Elena's phone still on the floor. He picked it up, saw the call log. The last number, saved as Marco Red Hearts. Her son. His hand shook as he stared at the name. 17. The same age as... No. Impossible. He dialed his investigator. I need a background check. Elena Martinez. Everything. Especially information about her son. Boss, shouldn't we focus on the rescue? Do it. Now. While his army mobilized, Antonio did the math he'd been avoiding. 17 years ago. One night. Elena disappearing without a trace afterward. His phone buzzed. The investigator, faster than expected. Boss, the kid's name is Marco Martinez. Born 9 months after. Well, after you would have. The man cleared his throat. Should I send you a photo? Yes. The image loaded. Antonio's world tilted. The boy was him. Same dark eyes. Same stubborn jaw. Same expression he saw in his own childhood photos. His son. He had a son. And because of his world, his violence, his enemies, Elena was going to die. Unless... Antonio made 3 calls. The first to his most ruthless enforcer. The second to a judge he owned. The third to a teenager who answered with a wary, hello. Marco Martinez? Who is this? My name is Antonio Russo. I know your mother. She's in danger. Silence. Then, I know who you are. That stopped Antonio cold. What? I've known for 3 years. Hacked into hospital records, traced Mom's work history, put the pieces together. Marco's voice was eerily calm. You're my father. And you're a Mafia boss. And if Mom's in danger because of you, I swear to God. Listen to me. Antonio cut through the rage. Men took her to hurt me. They're going to kill her at midnight. I have 1 hour to find her, and I need your help. My help? I'm 17. You're my son. The words felt foreign, terrifying, true. And if you're anything like me, you've been preparing for this your whole life. So tell me, what skills do you have that I can use? The pause stretched. Then, I can hack into any system. Traffic cameras, security feeds, phone networks. Give me a target area and 20 minutes. Antonio felt something crack in his chest. Pride. Terror. Hope. The Calabrese family operates out of Red Hook. Industrial District. Find me a location. Sending you encrypted coordinates in 15 minutes. And Mr. Russo? When we get her back, we're going to have a long conversation about child support. Despite everything, Antonio almost smiled. 12 minutes later, his phone pinged. A location. A warehouse by the docks. Antonio assembled his team. 20 men. Enough firepower to start a war. No survivors, he ordered. 1 more step and she dies. Antonio raised his hands. You want me? Take me. Let her go. That's not how this works. You disrespected my family. There are consequences. Please. Elena's voice cracked. I'm nobody. Just let me go home to my son. Enzo laughed. Your son? The one Russo just found out about? Oh, this is rich. You knocked up some random girl and didn't even know. The gunshot came from the skylight. Enzo crumpled, a perfect hole in his forehead. His men spun, confused, as a figure in black tactical gear rappelled down, landing with professional grace. The rescue happened in seconds. Elena freed. Enzo's men disarmed. And the figure in black pulling off their mask to reveal. A girl. Young. Fierce. With Antonio's eyes and Elena's mouth. But that was impossible. Marco was a boy. Dad, the girl said, helping Elena stand. "It's me." Antonio's world shattered. "Marco." "Mariana." The teenager smiled grimly. "Mom called me Marco to keep me safe. Hide me from your world. But I've been training for this moment my whole life. Former Navy SEAL taught me tactics. Hacking from online courses. Weapons from shooting ranges that didn't ask questions. Also that when your world found us, I could protect her." Elena was crying. "Baby, you weren't supposed to." "I know, Mom. But I'm not a kid anymore." And he needed to know the truth. Mariana turned to Antonio. "You have a daughter. And she just saved your ass. So maybe it's time we had that family meeting." Antonio looked between them, the woman he'd never forgotten and the daughter he'd never known he had. Warriors, both of them. Survivors. "Yeah," he managed. "Yeah, I think it's time." Behind them, his men finished securing the warehouse. But Antonio's war was just beginning, the one where he learned how to be a father. The safe house was neutral territory, far from Russo Estate, far from Elena's apartment. Just 3 people and 17 years of secrets between them. Mariana sat cross-legged on the couch, cleaning the disassembled pistol with practiced efficiency. Elena hadn't stopped staring at her daughter since the rescue. Antonio stood by the window, scotch in hand, processing. "So," Mariana said without looking up. "Questions? Comments? Existential crises? How long have you known?" Antonio's voice was carefully controlled. "About you? 3 years. I hacked Mom's old employment records, found the restaurant, cross-referenced dates." She snapped the magazine into place. "About what you do. Longer. I'm not stupid. Men don't have that kind of power without violence." Elena flinched. "Mariana." "It's okay, Mom. I'm not judging." The girl's eyes, Antonio's eyes, met his. "I get it. You were born into this world. You survive how you have to. But here's what I don't get. You had one night with my mother 17 years ago. Why didn't you look for her?" The question hit like a knife. Antonio set down his glass. "I did." Both women stared. "I searched for 6 months." The admission cost him. "But Elena Martinez is a common name. And you," he looked at Elena, "you disappeared. No forwarding address. No trace. I thought—" He stopped. "You thought what?" Elena whispered. "That you'd realized what I was and wanted nothing to do with it." "With me?" His jaw tightened. "I was right, wasn't I?" "Yes." Elena stood, moving to face him. "You terrified me. Not because you were violent, but because I was falling in love with you after one night. And I knew men like you don't end up with coat-check girls. They end up with women from their world. So when I found out I was pregnant, I ran. You should have told me." "And what? You would have what? Married me out of obligation? Set me up in some apartment like a mistress? Taken Mariana and raised her in this world?" Elena's voice cracked. "I chose poverty and safety over wealth and danger. You chose to raise our daughter believing I didn't want her." Antonio's control slipped. "Do you have any idea what that—" "I know exactly what that feels like." Mariana's voice cut through the tension. "I spent my whole childhood wondering why I wasn't good enough for my father to find me. Why Mom worked 3 jobs instead of asking you for help. Why I had to be Marco instead of Mariana." The silence was devastating. "But here's the thing." The girl stood, approaching Antonio with fearless steps. "I also spent my whole childhood watching Mom sacrifice everything for me. Watching her work herself to exhaustion so I could have food, clothes, school. She made a choice. Maybe the wrong choice, maybe not, but it was her choice. And it kept me alive. Antonio looked at this fierce young woman, his daughter, and felt something break open in his chest. "I would have protected you both," he said quietly. "I would have moved heaven and earth. I know. I've seen what you do for people you care about." Mariana glanced at Elena. "The way you lost your mind when Mom was taken? That was real. So here's my question. What happens now?" Antonio met Elena's eyes. 17 years. A daughter. A lifetime of choices that led to this moment. "Now," he said slowly, "we figure out how to be a family. If that's what you want." "What I want." Elena laughed, broken and beautiful. "Antonio, I've wanted you for 17 years. But I won't bring Mariana into your world of violence. I won't watch her become a target. Then I'll leave it." The words surprised him even as he said them. "I have enough money to disappear. To start over somewhere safe. To be," he swallowed, "to be her father. Your, whatever you'll let me be." Mariana snorted. "Yeah, that'll last 6 months before you're bored and itching to come back. Plus, you're Antonio Russo. People don't just let you retire." She was right. He knew she was right. "So what do you suggest?" he asked his daughter. "Teach me." Mariana's eyes gleamed. "Teach me your world. How to survive it, how to navigate it, how to eventually dismantle it from the inside. I'm 17. In 1 year, I'm legal. I can make my own choices. And my choice is to take what you built and turn it into something better." "Absolutely not." Elena moved between them. "You're not entering this life. I won't allow it. Mom, I'm already in it. I have been since the moment you chose to keep me." Mariana took her mother's hands. "But I'm not asking to become a criminal. I'm asking to become a force for change. Use Dad's resources, connections, money, but redirect them. Legitimate businesses. Protection for people like us. A way out for people trapped in this life." Antonio stared at this girl, this woman, who had materialized from nothing and was now proposing to revolutionize his entire empire. "You sound like your mother," he said roughly. "Idealistic. Brave. Probably going to get yourself killed. I sound like both of you." Mariana smiled. "Mom's compassion. Your strategy. That's a pretty powerful combination." Elena looked between them, tears streaming down her face. "This is insane." "Probably." Antonio moved closer, his hand reaching tentatively for hers. She didn't pull away. "But I've spent 17 years wondering what if. And I'm not wasting another 17. So if you'll have me, if you'll both have me, I'll figure out how to balance this world with being a father." "Hey, partner." "Partner." Elena's breath hitched. "I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. I haven't earned that." His thumb traced her knuckles. "But I'm asking for a chance. To prove I can be what you both need." Before Elena could answer, Mariana's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and swore. "We have a problem." The Calabrese hit? It sparked a war. 3 families are positioning to take over your territory while you're distracted. Antonio's expression went cold. "Then I'll remind them why I'm in charge." "No." Elena gripped his arm. "No more violence. Not tonight. Tonight, you figure out how to end this without bloodshed. Prove to me, to us, that there's another way." It was an impossible ask. In his world, weakness meant death. But looking at Elena's desperate hope and Mariana's challenging stare, Antonio realized he'd do the impossible. "Make the calls," he told Mariana. "Set up a meeting. All 3 families. Neutral ground. Tomorrow at noon. And if they refuse? Antonio smiled. Sharp and dangerous. Then tell them Antonio Russo is offering them a deal they can't refuse. And if that doesn't work? He looked at Elena. Then I'll burn it all down and start over. For you. For our daughter. For the family I never knew I wanted until now. Elena pulled him down and kissed him. Soft. Tentative. Full of 17 years of longing. When they broke apart, Mariana was smirking. Okay, you two are cute. But can we save the romance for after we prevent a mob war? Antonio laughed. Genuine, warm, free. Yeah, let's do that. And for the first time in his life, he had something worth fighting for beyond power. He had a family. The neutral ground was a restaurant Antonio owned, upscale Italian, closed for the occasion. 3 families arrived with their entourages, the Vitales, the Costas, and the Bernards. Old blood, all of them. Men who remembered when handshakes meant something and violence was a last resort. Antonio sat at the head of the table, Elena on his right, Mariana on his left. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. You brought civilians to a family meeting? Dominic Vitali's voice dripped with disdain. Have you lost your mind, Russo? No. Antonio's hand rested protectively near Elena's. I've found it. Gentlemen, meet Elena Martinez and our daughter, Mariana. The reason I'm offering you this chance instead of open war. The room went silent. A daughter? Marcus Costa leaned forward. All these years, you had a secret family? Not secret. Hidden. For their protection. Antonio's voice carried the weight of command. And now they're exposed because of the Calabrese hit. So I'm giving you all a choice. We can tear this city apart fighting for scraps, or we can evolve. Evolve. Jean Bernard laughed. Into what? Legitimate businessmen. Why not? Mariana spoke up, ignoring Elena's warning squeeze. You're all sitting on assets worth billions. Ports, construction, waste management. What if instead of fighting over criminal enterprises, you consolidated legitimate ones? Became CEOs instead of crime lords? The men stared at this teenage girl who dared address them. The kid has balls, Vitali admitted. But she's naive. We're criminals, sweetheart. It's what we do. You're survivors, Elena corrected, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. I've spent 17 years surviving. Working multiple jobs, raising a daughter alone, keeping us safe from a world that wanted to devour us. You think I don't understand doing what you have to do? But there comes a point where you have to ask, what are you surviving for? The question hung in the air. I'm surviving for her. Antonio gestured to Mariana. For the chance to know my daughter. To build something she can inherit without shame. And I'm offering you the same chance. Your children, your grandchildren, what kind of legacy are you leaving them? Pretty words, Costa growled. But the streets don't run on speeches. They run on fear. Then let's give them something to fear. Mariana pulled out a tablet. I've spent the last 6 hours compiling dossiers on every operation each of you runs. Trafficking routes, money laundering schemes, political connections. Everything. And I've uploaded it all to a dead man switch. If anything happens to me, my mother or my father, it all goes to the FBI, the IRS, and the New York Times. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. You're blackmailing us? Vitali's hand moved toward his jacket. I'm leveling the playing field. Mariana didn't flinch. You've all survived this long by being smarter than everyone else. So be smart now. Work with us to legitimize your operations, or lose everything. She's your daughter, all right, Bernard muttered to Antonio. Same ruthless streak. Different application, Antonio corrected. I used fear to control. She's using information to liberate. There's a difference. And you're okay with this? Costa demanded. Your own daughter threatening us? Antonio looked at Mariana, fierce, brilliant, terrifying, and felt pride swell in his chest. I'm more than okay with it. I'm in awe. Elena squeezed his hand under the table. The three family heads exchanged looks. Old men, tired of war, seeing an exit ramp they'd never considered. What exactly are you proposing? Vitali asked finally. A coalition. Antonio slid folders across the table. We pool our legitimate assets, construction, shipping, waste management, real estate. Create a conglomerate. Hire the best lawyers, accountants, and lobbyists money can buy. Within 5 years, we're legal, profitable, and our children inherit businesses, not blood feuds. And the operations that can't be legitimized? Phased out. Gradually. No one loses income overnight. We transition. You're asking us to give up everything that made us powerful, Bernard said. I'm asking you to keep your power by changing its source. Antonio leaned forward. The world is changing. Law enforcement is getting smarter. Technology is making secrets impossible. We can evolve or go extinct. I choose evolution. The silence stretched. Then Vitali started laughing. Deep, genuine belly laughs. You know what? Why the hell not? I'm 68 years old. I'm tired of looking over my shoulder. If Russo's daughter is brave enough to threaten us all, maybe it's time we were brave enough to change. Costa nodded slowly. My grandson starts college next year. It would be nice if he could invite me to graduation without shame. Bernard sighed. Fine. But I want control of the waste management division. And legal representation that can make my past disappear. Done. Antonio stood, extending his hand. Gentlemen, welcome to the future. They shook on it. Old world honor meeting new world vision. As the families filed out, Vitali paused by Mariana. You're either very brave or very stupid, girl. Little bit of both, Mariana admitted. But I'm also very prepared. Cross us, and you'll see just how prepared. Vitali grinned. Yeah, you're definitely a Russo. When they were alone, Elena collapsed against Antonio, adrenaline finally crashing. Oh my God. We actually... changed the world. Antonio wrapped his arms around her. Yeah, we did. No, Mariana corrected, packing up her tablet. Mom changed the world 17 years ago when she chose to raise me with love instead of letting anger consume her. Dad changed it when he chose family over power. I just gave them the tools. Antonio looked at his daughter, this fierce, brilliant young woman who'd materialized from his past and reshaped his future. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. Mariana smiled at Elena. The best. Elena pulled them both into a hug, tears streaming down her face. I love you both so much, and I'm terrified of what comes next. So am I, Antonio admitted. But I'd rather be terrified with you than powerful without you. Okay, that was actually romantic, Mariana said. But can we get out of here? I'm starving, and we have a legitimate business empire to build. They left the restaurant together, a family forged in violence but choosing peace. Behind them, the old world crumbled. Ahead, something new waited to be built. 3 months later, the headlines read, Russo Industries announces multi-billion-dollar expansion. former rivals now partners in legal ventures. Wall Street cheered. The FBI grumbled. And in a penthouse overlooking Central Park, a family sat down to dinner. Antonio Russo, former Mafia boss, now CEO. Elena Martinez, former bartender, now head of HR for Russo Industries. Someone has to make sure you treat employees right. And Mariana Russo, college freshman studying business law and computer science, already planning her next revolution. To second chances, Antonio raised his glass. To family, Elena added. To changing the world, Mariana finished. Their glasses clinked. Outside, the city glittered with possibility. And somewhere in the old neighborhoods, young girls working multiple jobs looked at headlines and dared to dream of rescue, of being seen, of second chances. Because Elena Martinez had proved something Antonio Russo had forgotten. The greatest power isn't fear. It's love. 5 years later, Mariana Russo stood at a podium addressing shareholders of Russo Industries, now the third largest conglomerate on the East Coast. When my father founded this company, he did it for one reason, to give his daughter a legacy without shame. Today, I'm proud to announce our new initiative, the Martinez Scholarship Fund, named after my mother, providing full college tuition for children of single parents in low-income communities. The room erupted in applause. In the front row, Antonio watched his daughter command the room the way he once commanded through fear. But this was better. This mattered. Elena squeezed his hand. She's incredible. She's like her mother. Antonio kissed her temple. Stubborn. Brilliant. Changing the world one life at a time. After the presentation, they met Mariana in the hall. She was surrounded by reporters, but broke away when she saw them. Mom, Dad, how'd I do? Perfect, Elena said, pulling her into a hug. But then, you always are. The continuer, that's because I learned from the best. Mariana looked between them. Both of you. Antonio's phone buzzed. A text from Vitali. Your daughter is going to run the world someday. And I'm okay with that. He showed it to Mariana, who grinned. Not the world. Just the parts that need fixing. That's still most of it, Elena laughed. Then I'd better get started. Mariana kissed them both. Dinner Sunday? I'm bringing someone I want you to meet. Someone. Antonio's protective instincts flared. Who? Dad. I'm 22. I can date. Mariana rolled her eyes. Besides, you'll like her. She's pre-law and wants to reform the justice system. Her. Elena's eyes lit up. Yeah, her. Mariana smiled. See you Sunday. She left in a whirlwind of ambition and designer heels. Antonio and Elena stood alone in the corporate hallway, so far from that dive bar in Brooklyn, yet somehow exactly where they were always meant to be. We did good, Elena whispered. We did incredible. Antonio pulled her close. Thank you. For what? For running. For hiding. For keeping her safe when I couldn't. His voice cracked. For giving me a second chance I didn't deserve. Elena cupped his face. You deserved it. You just didn't know it yet. They kissed, soft and sweet and full of promise. Around them, the city hummed with life. Somewhere, a teenage girl worked her third job, dreaming of escape. Somewhere, a single mother made impossible choices to keep her child safe. Somewhere, a man realized power meant nothing without love. And in the heart of it all, a family proved that redemption wasn't just possible. It was inevitable, for those brave enough to choose it. And so ends our story of revenge, rescue, and redemption. If you connected with Antonio, Elena, and Mariana's journey, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear that second chances are real. More stories are coming, stories of love, power, and the courage to change. We'll see you in the next one.